It's time for another PAC update from the Big Mountain. College realignment is always in the news, so we're back on the Big Mountain to keep you updated. Hey, JY back here on the Big Mountain with another PAC-12 update for you. I recently reached out to a few PAC ADs or future PAC ADs and also to the Texas State AD and University. Right now, no one is taking interviews. That tells me that things are probably very, very close here for the PAC-12 in the final stages of both the media agreement and picking media partners, and also announcements of new members. The response I got from Texas State last Thursday was that they are, quote, aren't available right now. I know I've had many commenters ask that we have someone from Texas State join us here on the pod. We will certainly do that. Of course, right now is not a great time given what's going on with the PAC and the great interest that both of those two sides have in each other. I will circle back here probably in about a month or so. And of course, after some announcements are made, we'll try to get that communication going again. But until then, makes sense. Their communication is going to be very, very limited as they're heading down the final approach here for both the PAC media agreement and potential additions. I'll get to more of that here in just a few minutes, but I want to talk a little bit more about Texas State and communications from Texas State. President Damphrews recently got a lot of attention for an ex-post that he put out last week on soup. Yes, a text about soup got a whole bunch of attention. Let me first just say that the soup there looked pretty fantastic. Lobster bisque. I believe it was his choice for lunch before he was flying back home from Washington, D.C. there. So fantastic looking soup. I just got to say that. But the portion that got people all worked up, got people's attention, was what he said in this, and I'll read it here quickly. People sometimes think that I'd be happy with a half bowl of soup. After all, a cup of soup is better than no soup at all. But for me, it's a full bowl or nothing. I want to be really, really clear here. This had nothing to do with negotiations in the public realm. That is not what he was doing here whatsoever. This had nothing to do with a president trying to send a message to a conference. Not at all the case. Now, could have it had been a response to some inaccurate reporting that was being had? Maybe. That could have been towards some reporters. Or could have it been that he just really liked the soup? I mean, it looks pretty good, like I said. You be the judge. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it was. But, let's not be silly here. This was not a publicity stunt. This was not negotiating in public like I've seen some people say. That is not what happened here whatsoever. He's a president of a prestigious university, public university in Texas. So stop it with that nonsense. That's not what this was. Had to bring that up because, and I tweeted some things. I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it. I laughed. But I'll tell you what, people are running with that, going way off the handle of what that was. So let's talk about real information here. I mean, that was a real tweet, but let's talk about some real stuff. There's no change here to what we have been telling our viewers for months, since the beginning of this year. Texas State and St. Mary's College still locked in, still at the top, most likely to be the next additions to the PAC. And they are absolutely the front runners in final negotiations with the PAC. Can everything fall apart still? Absolutely. Nothing's done until it's announced and they sign on the dotted line. But absolutely, I believe both of those schools are going to be members of this next phase of the PAC-12. I'm not going to get into what has or hasn't been offered, the amounts, the 50%, the this and that. To me, what's circulating in terms of that on the socials, it's rumors, it's innuendo, it's not coming from sources that I've heard. And if you want to believe those people, go ahead. I'm not putting any sort of stamp on what that is. other than to say what we have been saying. Those two schools are locked in and by far the most likely to be the next additions for the PAC. With that said, though, New Mexico State here, a school we have paid very little attention to on the Big Mountain. I know I get some commenters on X about them. Why aren't you talking about them more? Well, because I have heard nothing about New Mexico State being a true target of or even interest of the Pac-12. I will say right now, they have entered the chat, and I'll put up here a tweet from Casey Smurthwaite. We had him on just last week. He actually said back in January that they had entered the chat. And I'm hearing that that is still happening. Now, I know the socials are kind of bringing that up a little bit more now than certainly they were back in January. But Casey, somebody that we trust here on the Big Mountain, I trust, he's kind of been on that. And to be clear here, that does not mean they are likely to be added at this point. That's not what I'm saying. However, I'm going to need to take a little closer look here at the Aggies moving forward. And when I put out the newest version of my addition power ranking, again, Texas State, St. Mary's locked in. I've got the AAC4 over in the unlikely. You're going to see the Aggies added to this addition power ranking on this next iteration. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them yet. Have to do a little more digging, but they will be on my list. From what I am hearing, the main reason why there's more interest right now is mainly due to recent leadership changes. President Valerio Firme was approved in October. He started there in November. And the presidents are a big driver of all this. I know everybody likes to focus on the ADs. We, of course, love talking with the ADs. They know what's going on with the athletic program. But you have to have the buy-in of the president, okay? The AD's not making the vote. Certainly they have their voice in the discussion and that, different levels depending on what university you're in there. The president's the one that really needs to get on board and make that push to their regents or their board or trustees or whomever it is. And that's apparently what you're seeing here at New Mexico State. This change of leadership, possibly is opening the door a little bit more here for them. He was the VP up at University of Cincinnati, VP of Academic Affairs and also provost there at Cincinnati, and really moving some things around, positive leadership change there from what people are seeing. They also let their AD go in January. They have an interim AD right now. I would say watch the direction that they take with their AD. That could be telling as to where they maybe want to head here. So New Mexico State definitely entered the chat. They're an established D1 program. They've had some basketball success. Yeah, they had a couple years there of football successes, not really known for a football program, but they do have a good basketball program. And remember, this new PAC conference is looking to be a very strong basketball league. So, we'll see what happens. The only other thing I'll throw out there, they sponsor baseball and softball. The last update I did, I took a little closer look at both Texas State and St. Mary's, who have baseball and softball. The Beaver fans and the Beaver Athletics wants baseball teams. They want a good baseball conference. They have a fantastic team. So another school that offers both baseball and softball. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Got to give them a little more thought, do a little more digging as to where I want to put them on my chart. As for media rights, I'm going to stay with the range that I have been saying for a long time, 8 to 10 million. I pegged that long ago. Everything that I've been hearing, everything that's been coming out looks like they're going to be in that range. And yes, I know there haven't been leaks on that, but it's looking at who the members are, looking at what interest is coming from the market. Fox is no longer interested from what we have heard. So I really feel strongly as time goes on, I get more and more confident in my $8 to $10 million range. There's numbers that Navigate put out long ago, that 15 to 18 million that some people still are holding on to, they were just inflated. That's what they were. And I'm not knocking Navigate. They didn't know who the members were necessarily going to be in total at that point. But clearly they were inflated. I think we're going to see that when these market deals come out. And, again, even the most avid PAC-2 fans, the Washington State and Oregon State fans, are coming to the realization that 18 mil, 15 mil really is not going to be realistic. There may be a few of you out there that still think that's realistic, but unfortunately, I think you're going to be let down. And so, again, still think 8 to 10, very, very solid. I have heard from different sources, varying information on when this announcement is going to be made. At this point, I'm not going to put out a timeline. It'll happen whenever they're ready for it to happen. I believe right now they know who their partners are going to be. They're pretty close, if not finalized, on the value at this point. And that's why they're now just kind of wrapping up and trying to look and see who their next member or members are going to be here. So I have a firm belief that both the PAC-2 and the 6 right now incoming members have a very, very solid idea of both the partner and the value. And again, laying down the timeline is just not worth it for me. I will just throw out there, this is a could, this is a maybe. I'm not saying this is why, but I have heard that potentially the mediation that is getting underway with the Mountain West could delay the announcement a bit longer than some people may hope for. I'm not saying that is the case, but that is some things that I have heard, that the mediation, until that either there's a settlement or they have to go back to the lawsuits, until that is finalized here over the next month or so, if it's going to be finalized, that could be delaying some of that as well. I don't quite see the connection, but if they're able to know what their outlay is going to be, somehow they can probably lay that into their additions for new members as well. The last thing I want to talk about here is Sacramento State just did a release yesterday with some news directly from the university here. And the one item we talked about was scheduling agreements. They are in the works. There are handshake agreements right now with conferences, I was told, with an S, conferences. And of course, none of that can be finalized until they know whether or not the NCAA is going to approve their waiver and their application to move to FBS independent. But I just want to throw out there, I'm not saying I know it to be a fact at all, but when you look at, obviously where Sacramento State is at, there's 2 FBS conferences and 2 FCS conferences that I think fit the bill. Of course, FBS would be the PAC and the Mountain West, if there's any sort of scheduling agreement there with those. I said long ago, it wasn't sourced, but hey, it may work out for the PAC if they only have 8 football members. They always wanted that 9th to kind of have somewhat of a scheduling agreement with Sacramento State. We'll see if that's what ends up happening. And then in terms of FCS conferences, I like the Big Sky, which is where they're at now. Are they able to maintain somewhat of a relationship with them? We'll have to see how that works out. Of course, when you're leaving a conference, that might be difficult to do, but that's obviously in their territory. The other one could be the United, and I'm going to throw them out there. That's a combination of both the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, and the Atlantic Sun Conference. Their football playing members are combined into this United conference, and that could be one that you could see somewhat of a scheduling agreement with Sacramento State. Of course, if they're making the jump to FBS, one would think the conferences that they're looking for would be FBS conferences. So maybe throw the Big 12 out there. I don't know. That's probably a little bit further of a reach for them. But, we'll have to wait and see. So just wanted to bring up Sac State again. I know there's a lot of PAC fans paying attention to what's going on with Sac State. If you didn't see my episode, I just did that one yesterday. I'll make sure there's a link at the end of this episode as well. Go back and take that, give that one a look. I go over a lot of what's going on right now with Sacramento State if you're interested at all. So, hey, with that, we stay on the PAC-12. We stay on the Mountain West, the Big Ten, and all things conference realignment. We have a live show again tomorrow, Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern. Would love to have you join us. With that, hey, give this one a like and subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.